everybody, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about size of tires and why I run a size 32 tires. So believe it or not, size 33, 35, 38, 40s are all size of tires, and most people that own Jeeps, usually the first thing they do is lift their Jeeps and then put bigger size of tires. There's a lot of complications with that, and I'm going to explain that here in a bit, but I prefer to drive with this size of tires right here, 32 by 11.5. About 95% of the time, I usually just drive on the street to and from work or do some of my chores. I rarely go off-roading, so the purpose of me driving on a bigger size of tires is really kind of just showing off. So drive around on size 32 tires for the following reasons. One, it's easy on my engine. If you put bigger size of tires here, like 33 and 35s, it will probably put a strain on your engine if you don't do the following. First, the ratio of your axles needs to be changed once you start running bigger tires, because that is the only way you can compensate for the loss of power from the engine. I mean, you don't really lose power from the engine, but the bigger tires will cause you to drag it more on the road. And this is noticeable when you're going uphill versus going downhill or on the flatlands. If you live in a place where there's a lot of flatlands, then maybe bigger tires not really going to bother you much. But when you start to drive on hills, if you have 33 or 35s, your Jeep, the engine will suffer. Your gas mileage will suffer. All of those things will suffer. Alright, listen, since we're already talking about the size of the tires in relation to the axles, let me talk a little bit about why that is important. When you are driving with bigger tires, usually you're changing the dynamic of the ratio of the gears in the pumpkin to the original ratio that's provided to you by the Jeep company. When these things come out of the factory, I think they drive around about 30 or 29 size of tires. And the harmony between the engine, the axles, your transmission, all of that was calculated in the factory. And once you start changing it, putting the lift, putting bigger tires on your Jeep, you're changing that dynamic, you're changing that, and it becomes complex, and now one or the other will have to compensate for that. In this case, your axles, the gearing inside of your axles needs to be changed, and that can be costly, and that's the reason why I don't drive on bigger tires than size 32s, because I think this is like the maximum size of tires you can drive when you're riding around in town. Now, when you start going and be serious about off-roading, there are different types of off-roading. Off-roading can be flatlands, just going fishing, and so there's no really reason to go crazy on your lift and your size of tires. However, if you start to level up on your off-roading adventures, like more obstacles, bigger rocks, trunks, deeper rivers, then you're probably might want to think about lifting your Jeep higher and putting bigger tires on it so you can get over those obstacles. By doing that, now you're going to have to compensate by increasing your ratio on your axles, because that is the only way you can bring it back to almost stock, so that when you're driving to and from the off-road trails, you're not hurting and you're not running like 35 miles per hour on a steep hill and everybody's passing you and you're becoming an annoyance to the public on the road. So that is the reason why axle gear ratio is important. All right, listen. I know we're talking about tires, but it has a lot to do with your axle ratio and your engine. So another upgrade that you can do without breaking into those axles and changing the ratio is souping up your engine. So I don't really see a problem with the 33s and 35s on a stock Jeep with stock ratios as long as you're driving on a flatlands. But I can tell you that you can tell the difference when you're going up hills or maybe going on a highway and you can't really maximize the potential of your Jeep and what it was built for, which is a dual-purpose vehicle on the road and an off-road, if you don't compensate for those, dynamic in your vehicle when you change gears. I'm sorry, when you change the tires. So on the engine side of the house, you can probably, buy a supercharger or a turbo and soup up your engine. But I can tell you the cost of that is probably more significant than just going ahead and changing the ratio on your axle gears. The venerable 4.0 liter of the Jeep, for me, is probably one of the best engines that you can ever have. This 1998 Jeep engine right here is probably one of the best engines that, in my opinion, that Jeep has ever made. Reason being is that it is a multi-port fuel injection, so when you're going off-road, that's not a problem at all. On inclines, it will never die out. Also, this engine right here is very reliable. Great engine, 4.0 liter. Probably one of the best out there, especially for a Jeep. So lastly, I'm going to talk about transmissions on Jeeps. This particular Jeep has a, I believe, AW4 or a 4-speed automatic transmission. You really can't do much about the transmission. I prefer the 5-speed or the 6-speed manual on Jeeps. However, this is the only available transmission that I can find here in Japan that's specific to this particular Jeep. So I really don't mind the automatic transmission. It makes it easier for off-roading, which I only do, like I said, 5% of the time. And it's definitely perfect for running on the street, going to and from work, and also doing my chores. So that is all about, that is it for the transmission. Hey, thank you very much for watching. Again, please check out my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every time I upload. I will talk to you soon.